All right, today is the day. We are going to process these rabbits.
This is what I use to dispatch them. I use a V-board. Now, a lot of times these V-boards are actually mounted up on a wall and makes things a little bit easier to use. I don't really have wall space that I could mount this on, so I just took and built a stand for it. Yes, it is super short and low. It was a little tricky to figure out how to use being so low, but now that I figured it out, it works out pretty well. So, like I said, I'm not going to dispatch the rabbit here on the video, but I'll walk you through how this works. There are many ways to dispatch a rabbit. I've tried several different ways. The most humane and quickest way that still allows for the meat to be tender, where the rabbit's not tensing up. The rabbit, the rabbit dies pretty quick. So I basically do cervical dislocation. So while you're taking and separating the spine from the base of the skull, which also severs the spinal cord, and that allows for complete full body shutdown immediately. And it literally is, it's a few seconds, and the rabbit is dead.
We're gonna start.
Yeah.
So I will usually take, and right about here, I will go around and start making cuts around the legs. And then I will cut down in a V shape. And then I will go around the pubis area, the butt and the genitals. And then at that point, I will free the tail and start skinning back the legs down to the tail. Once I get the tail free, then I literally just pull down and deglove it. So,
Be careful, Dad. It's bones in there.
as you're cutting, making your cut around the legs, you want to make sure that you don't cut the tendon. If you cut the tendon, it makes your life difficult.
No.
And it's still draining blood, so got a little bit of blood on me.
On the boots. Yeah?
That's okay.
Oh, no, don't play the hatchet. It is okay, Mom.
Well, I usually just kind of get a nice little hole. I don't know if you can see here. I got a hole here. And then I'll try and pull the skin back away from the bones. Or I can take the blade of the edge of my blade, and you try and pull the skin away. I have several times taken and put the blade too deep, and as I slice down towards the groin area, I've actually sliced through the meat. You don't want to do that, of course, so you want to be careful. And so I try to free up and find where the skin is before I slice down. Once you get a good spot.
The hair is the skin.
Yep.
Yeah.
You will know when you get that spot.
The hair is the skin, and
Yep,
then
there's skin
I
underneath.
see a hole right there. I see the hole.
Yep.
I can see a whole blood.
Okay. So now, as you can see, I've gone and skinned down right down the middle of that, down to the groin area. At that point, I usually will run over to the other leg and do the other leg too. And you don't need to free all the way around right away. I like to free one side so that I can kind of separate the skin from the meat and be able to get that slice, that angled slice down, so then you end up with a V.
It's not very scary.
So we'll do this one.
He's still watching Dad cutting the bunny, and me, Colin does not want to be cut, but Daddy won't cut him.
You kids. So, as you can hear, my kids are out here. At first, I didn't do this around my kids until I got things down. I didn't know how they were going to react with this. They both take it quite well now. It's a little different to them. They definitely don't like the Dissection as the rabbits. I usually don't have them in here for that. Today I did. Mom's busy doing something inside, and so I decided to go ahead and bring them out here with me. Okay.
This is
Boom.
disgusting.
That side is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go try to take my blade. Hey, shh, shh, shh. Not so loud. And I cut around to the back.
It's so I am the spider.
Oh goodness. I go cut around to the back. You can see the tendon. I don't know if you can see it. The tendon's right here. It's white. And so I just take the edge of my blade and I am going around the tendon. Like I said, you don't want to, here's that tendon right there. You don't want to slice through that because it's a bad day. It's a pain in the butt to try and skin it, let alone clean it. And so I just go around and I'm just separating the skin from the meat here until I get all the way around. This part really truly is like the most time consuming part, and I'm still not the greatest at it. Once I get through to the back side, as you can see, my blade is back behind the bone. So slide my blade that way, rotate it away from me, and slice through. Now that's free. I can pull that leg down. So we're gonna come over to the other side, and we're gonna do the other side. Now there's all sorts of different techniques to do this stuff. This is just kind of the one that I have learned and picked up on my own. The main thing is you just want to keep the meat clean, and you want to just try and preserve as much of it as you can. And if you're not, so most people just go through, cut it, strip the bunny down and throw the, but since we save the fur, I take a little more time in the skinning process just to make sure that I have a good clean fur.
They just cut
So,
the bone.
I'm through on this side. Let me make sure that, oh, the tendon is not free. So this one on this side for some reason is a smaller tendon. So it's hiding in the skin a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm through. Rotate that blade. And right through. So a cool technique that I have picked up from work, it's just how to take the edge of the blade and kind of work it down the layers of the tissue. When you're trying to save the hides, you want to try and keep as much fat off the hide as possible. And then with the meat, a little bit of fat in with the meat isn't a bad thing. And granted, some of that fat you're going to cut away, but at the same time, some of that fat's going to help with keeping your meat a little more tender. So once I've gotten this far, I will just kind of pull and massage the fur down. Like I said, if you're not worried about keeping the hides, you can be a little more aggressive on this. Once you get down into the hips and everything, I will take and stick my fingers down, and I will start, it's called dissecting. I'll start dissecting with my fingers. I just basically am taking and rubbing my fingers and finding the layers and just kind of trying to separate them. What I want to do is I want to separate them right through here so that I can pass my fingers through both sides, and at that point I can find the genitalia with ease. I have done that, so now you can see I'm able to put my hand straight through. On females, things are a little bit easier. It's a little bit harder to find the genitalia, but it's easier to basically cut things around it. On the males, it's a little more difficult. So anyway, I have worked my way up to the genitalia. So then what I'm gonna do is I take my finger and I find the base. And what I wanna do is I wanna take my blade and I want to cut up and free it. So now I've freed that. You've got the genitalia right here. Like I said, on the females, it's super simple. And then we're gonna come to the back. Now I'm taking my time on this so that you guys can kind of see, and I can show you guys the process a little bit more. Usually I'm through this, by now I'm through this section and I've already stripped the rabbit. But like I said, I want to make sure that you guys get a chance to really see how it's done. And with practice and that, you can speed things up. So I'm doing the same thing on the back. I'm working through with my fingers. Just trying to free up the fur. And I'm working my way up to the base of the tail.
Don't you do that. I don't want you to do it. But at me, stop.
Hey, you guys are being silly, huh?
That's a butt.
Yeah, it is a butt.
You
You want to do your best to try and keep fur off the meat. It's not always easy.
Don't kill my butt. No,
Hey, you guys.
That's not talk. Okay. Stop it.
All right.
Remember, Mom told us not do naughty talk. You
So
gotta do nice
now I've worked myself up
words.
to the tail. I'm going to take my blade in.
No, don't do that.
You're going to cut the tail off. You're going to sever the tail. So now our hide is complete with the tail. And all you did is you just cut the tail right from the spinal cord. It leaves this here, which is perfectly fine because that's where your genitalia is. And we will be cutting that out here shortly. Once you've gotten to this point, this is what it looks like. So what I go through is I will take and the skin or this tissue here on the hips, I'll go through and kind of dissect that down until it's free. At this point, most people, if they're not keeping the hide, they're just gonna pull it straight down. Like I said, I'm keeping the hide, so I'm just gonna make sure that I free it as much as possible. So as I'm stripping it down, there's a much less chance of ripping. So that's the way I do it. It's not necessarily the right way, and it's not necessarily the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I go through, there's a lot of fat through here, and I'm basically just kind of taking and cutting the fat free.
Cutting the fat. Buckwheat's not like fat. Yuck. I know why I eat fat. Yuck.
Okay, I'm down pretty far now.
I know why I
So
eat fat.
let's see if we can get a better
That's why I might
view here.
fat.
So I'm down. Now I'm just gonna take it and let's see. Hold on. I gotta go and cut around the bottom feet.
Yeah. Geez, Dad, that has bones.
It does have bones.
Yeah.
always forget to do this. You want to either cut the feet off. You're going to eventually cut the feet off anyway. So most of the time what I'll do is I'll just hack the feet off. This time I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm just going to cut the skin free, the skin and fur, and we're going to see if it will strip right down. So at this point, you just grab the pelt like this, and you just pull down, and it comes right straight down and out.
There's blood.
Yep, there's blood. That's normal. All right.
Jeez!
So and there we have the rabbit and the hide right here. Unfortunately, it was a little more bloodier than I expected, but that's okay. So what I usually do is I will take and I will roll the hide up like this. Can someone go in and get me a grocery bag?
Grocery bag, Brooklyn.
I'll go through and I'll roll the hide
bag.
up like this, and then I'll put it in a bag and we'll stick it in the freezer. Once I have enough hides, I'm going to send the hides out for them to be...
Here's a grocery bag.
Okay, open it up. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll send the hides out and have them tanned. Nope, leave it out here. So boom, that's all skinned. Now for the gutting part. Yep. So, at this point, I like to take and try to fracture the hip joints. You'll know when you do, you'll hear it pop. If you didn't hear that,
I popped.
that's what you hear.
I hear it.
And then I will kind of take, you can see the directions of the tissue. I'll go through and I'll kind of follow that. This is a technique I actually have learned and picked up from my time in the OR and watching the surgeons go through and dissect.
And come over here.
Go through and dissect down to where they need to be. It's a technique that I've watched and one I've picked up, and it works really well.
Look. See that thing? That's cutting that, and we can see.
So
that
then I want to
feet
come
and
back
that
up,
poop.
and I want to find the tail, the little stump I left with the tail. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna kind of dissect down. You can see the anus. So this is a little trick that I've picked up. The anus is gonna follow the base of the tail. You can see where the anus is connected, and you can just go take the blade of your knife and kind of follow down the spinal cord, and you can see the difference in the color of tissue. So there's little things that connect that tissue together. You're just basically going through and you're breaking that free. That way, you're able to free the anus up, and it makes it a lot easier to pull it out.
Did I miss? No. Just came in right this time. Yeah.
So, watch out, guys. Look out. So I've gone through and I've dissected down. I want to cut away some of that meat so I can find that fracture line that I made when I flexed the pelvis. When you do that, you fracture the pelvis. So I want to find where that fracture is and dissect down to it and open it up, because what you're going to do is you're going to pull the anus and the urethra. You're going to pull it straight down through that fracture line. Then once you open the belly, you can just pull everything pretty much straight through. It's super simple.
I can see
It's
the belly.
Very, very simple, and it's hard to break things open or contaminate your meat that way. I've only done it once, and that was because when I fractured it, the bone had actually pierced the anus there, and I ended up cutting right into it.
That is the belly, the meat?
There is some meat here in the belly, but not a lot. So I just kind of want to make sure that
Inside
I've got
the belly, does
Yep.
mean?
Yep, inside. So at that point, once that is pretty much freed, and ready to go, then I can take, and I'm going to take and make a small incision here, just very carefully with the very tip. There's a few different layers to go through, just with the very tip of my blade. Once I got a hole in to the cavity, I'm going to take 2 fingers and I'm going to spread them. And as I go down, I'm going to move down with my blade. My blade's going to go in between my 2 fingers. And I'm just going to follow it down.
Dad, just be careful.
I am. And you literally just want the tip of your blade just enough to go on the very edge of that stomach lining. And as you go down, because if you go any further, you run a higher chance of slicing open the, the innards.
It's love.
Yep. All of our bodies have water. So when you open it up, there's going to be some fluid.
Oh yeah, inside your belly.
Yeah. And you don't want to splash yourself in the face.
Eee.
Okay.
Oh, why? Whoa.
Because it's gross.
Is
Okay.
that poop?
So
Is that
now we've
poop right
opened
there?
everything up. We can take and find the
Wait.
fracture line.
Is that a stomach?
Yep, that's inside the stomach.
Wait.
Or there's stomach and stuff in there.
Yeah. What kind of brown stuff that is that?
Okay.
What's that
At
brown
this point,
stuff that? That is.
You can just take your
hole.
finger and run it down to the inside of the tail and free up the back side of the anus and the bowels there.
Papa, no, don't.
We might have to come through and cut some things free, which is pretty normal.
We did this before.
And then, boom, that's free. Now you can just take your finger and run it down, and all the innards should just be able to pull right free from things. All right, so I just ran my fingers straight down along the back of the inside of the spine there. Just 2 fingers and just run down that spine, the spine right in the middle. And then I pulled all the stuff out,
Okay,
pulled
let's
it
go.
straight out.
I see a lot of water in there.
Yep. Now I just gotta go through and I gotta pull the neck out, the last little bit of the throat.
What, Mom? Look, Mom, we're getting it. Dad's doing it. Yeah, and I see a bones and it's disgusting. And there was water inside.
Okay, here we go.
Yee!
It's cleaned. I'm not gonna do it now. We'll do it when we process the rest of it. A lot of people, there's some people that save this lining here, and you can make jerky out of it and everything. It's not the greatest tasting. It's kind of fat and kind of like rubbery. So what we'll do when we process this is we're gonna actually cut it out. But for now, that's pretty much it. Now all we gotta do is cut the front and back legs off, and this thing is ready to go in some water to clean off the blood and the fur, and then we can start cutting it up and it's ready to go.